So I want to go over uneven tax split, and whichever curve is going to be more inelastic is going to bear a higher burden of the tax, bear a higher burden of the tax. So we can see here the supply curve is more inelastic, here the demand curve is more inelastic. So even before graphing this or implementing the tax, I know the producers are going to bear more of the burden here and consumers are going to bear more of the burden here. But let's graph it out. So I'm just going to go above my equilibrium price and I'm going to arbitrarily pick a price and say this is the price consumers are going to pay. I'm going to go over to the demand curve. I'm going to go down to the supply curve, and I'm going to go over. This is going to be my quantity of tax. And we can see the producers, if this whole green line is by tax, this is how much the producers are paying, the blue line, and the red line is how much the consumers are paying. And you can see that because the supply curve is more inelastic, producers are bearing a heavy burden of the tax. When we went over, we dropped all the way down. And the way to think about it is because the supply curve's more vertically steep, you're falling further along the supply curve before you make contact and then you come over. So we're splitting a tax between, in this market, the producers will bear more. If we go over here, we have a very inelastic demand curve with a relatively elastic supply curve. So I'm just going to go down a little bit from the equilibrium price, and I'm going to say this is how much the producers are going to bear. I'm going to go over to the supply curve, and then up to the demand curve, and then over. And this is what consumers will pay. And once again, if this green line is going to be my entire tax, the red is going to be what the consumers pay, and the blue is going to be what the producers pay. So here the demand curve is more inelastic than the supply curve, so the consumers bear more of the burden. Here the supply curve is more inelastic than the demand curve, so here the producers bear more of the burden.